They had seen his televised Thanksgiving week address to the nation from the Oval Office. They knew the daunting task he had faced stepping in after Bush, and they knew the score. America's economy was stronger than ever. Housing sales were at a record high. Small businesses were being launched at a healthy clip. Unemployment was dropping fast. The Dow and NASDAQ were reaching new heights. Homeland security had been firmly reestablished. The long war on terrorism had been an unqualified success. Al-Qaeda and the Taliban had been obliterated. Osama bin Laden had finally been found. Dead, not alive. 43 terrorist training camps throughout the Middle East and North Africa had been destroyed by the U.S. Delta Force and British SAS commandos. Not a single domestic hijacking had occurred in the past several years. Not since a U.S. Air Marshal put 3 bullets in the heart of a Sudanese man who single-handedly tried to take over a U.S. Airways shuttle from Washington Dulles to New York. And thousands of cell members and associates of various terrorist groups and factions had been arrested, convicted, and imprisoned in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Overseas, however, the news wasn't quite as good. The global economy still struggled. Car bombs and assassinations continued to occur sporadically throughout Europe and Asia as remaining terrorist networks, unable to penetrate the U.S., tried to find new ways to lash out against the allies of the Great Satan. One newspaper editorial said the U.S. seemed to be playing terrorist whack-a-mole, crushing the heads of some cells at home only to see others pop up around the world. This was true. Many Americans still felt unsafe traveling overseas, and global trade, though improving, remained somewhat sluggish. But at least within the U.S., there was now a restored sense of economic optimism and national security. Domestically, at least, recessions were a thing of the past, and terrorism seemed to have been quashed. Presidential promises made were promises kept, and the sense of relief was palpable. As a result, the president's job approval ratings now stood steady at a remarkable 71%. At this rate, he'd win re-election in a landslide, probably pick up even more House seats, and very likely a solid Senate majority as well. Then the challenge would be to move to the next level, to bolster the U.S. and international economies with his sweeping new tax cut and simplification plan. Could he really get a single-rate 17% flat tax through Congress? That remained to be seen. But he could probably get the country back just to low tax rates, say 10% and 20%, and that might be good enough, especially if he abolished the capital gains tax and allowed immediate write-offs for investment in new plants, buildings, equipment, high-tech hardware, and computer software instead of long, complicated Jurassic Park-era depreciation schedules. But all that was a headache for another day. For now, it was time for the president to head to the Brown Palace Hotel in downtown Denver and get some rest. Wednesday night, he'd attend a Thanksgiving Eve party and raise $4.2 million for the RNC, then join his family already up at their palatial lodge, nestled on the slope of the Rockies in Beaver Creek, for a cozy, intimate weekend of skiing and turkey and chess. He could smell the fireplace and taste the sweet potatoes and marshmallows even now. The motorcade cleared the airport grounds at 12:14 a.m. Wednesday morning. Special Agent Charlie McKittrick of the U.S. Secret Service put down his high-powered night vision binoculars and looked north, scanning the night sky from high atop the DIA control tower. In the distance, he could see the lights of the Gulfstream 4, a private jet chartered by some oil company executives that was now the first aircraft in the holding pattern and waiting to land. Whenever the president, vice president, or other world leader flies into an airport, all other aircraft are prevented from landing or taking off, and the agency tasked with maintaining complete security puts an agent in the tower to keep control of the airspace over and around the protectee. In this case, until Gambit, the code name assigned to the president, was secure at the Brown Palace, McKittrick would maintain his vigil in the tower and work with the local air traffic controllers. The holding pattern was now approaching 5 hours in length, and McKittrick had heard the G4 pilots repeat 4 times that they were running low on fuel. He hardly wanted to be responsible for a screw-up. It wasn't his fault the flight crew hadn't topped their tanks in Chicago rather than flying straight from Toronto, but it would certainly be his fault if something went wrong now. He glanced down at the radar screen beside him and saw 13 other flights behind the Gulfstream. They were a potpourri of private and commercial aircraft whose pilots undoubtedly couldn't care less.